Hi there, this is William. Along with Connor, Bryson, Timothy, and Anthony, we will be presenting Aura Exercise Brief. Aura is a newly opened coffee shop off Riverside in the neighborhood of Holly Hill. They have been open since December of 2024, and they have a small, tight-knit team that is always looking to improve. There are 5 core functions of Aura. First, serving specialty coffee and tea, providing a welcoming environment, supporting ethical sourcing and sustainability, operating as a local business, and promoting community engagement. This is the overview of our brief today. We will go over grading criteria, then move on to the setup. After the setup is fully explained, we will go into our first scenario of Karen and Terry. After that, we'll roll into Typhoid Timmy, and lastly, Moody Blues. We will then show you how we will compile the data, and then we'll wrap it up with a summary of our scenarios.
Alright, so for the actual setup of how we're going to be running these exercises, the situation manual will be provided for all groups pertinent to the exercise 48 hours in advance. That way they can prepare themselves and review procedures. In order to cover all employees throughout the work shift, all of them will kind of be dispersed. So, if we have a morning shift and a closing shift, the events will be spread out in an even enough way where the morning shift will have one event, and then hopefully while they're kind of in the middle of switching off, we'll start the second event, and then kind of in the evening we'll do that third event. The 3 scenarios will progressively escalate as we kind of deal with one and put out the next fire. And then the situation manual that we're using will be a covert one, so the actual people being evaluated will not have access to very much information other than, you should be looking up on how to deal with this possibly. Then one thing that is pretty important for us is going to be the evaluation group is going to have dry runs the day before or days leading up to the eval. That way, they'll be able to more effectively kind of see what they're looking for, see what they like, see what they don't like, and use those tools to effectively evaluate the actual employees when they're kind of going through it. For the actual grading of all of the events or scenarios that we're having throughout the day for our tabletop exercise, we're going to be using a pretty simple scale. It's just going to be 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and saying that you don't meet expectations, and then 5 being the highest where you're exceeding expectations. The actual categories that we are looking at are going to be customer service, so that's going to be how they actually respond to the customer, how they handle the feedback, and how they kind of de-escalate if anything is coming up. Next is going to be procedures, so this is going to be all about if they follow what they're expected to do. So, if they are effectively and accurately taking the steps in de-escalating or in taking care of a medical emergency. That's what we're looking for there. Next is going to be teamwork, so if they are actually effectively using their team, delegating, working together, that's important. And then self-control. This one's primarily focused on whether or not the employee is kind of getting irritated, if they're getting stressed out, how they carry themselves throughout the whole situation, and if they're effectively able to kind of stay calm, cool, and collected is what we want to see. And then the last one's just going to be decision making. So this is kind of a total summary of everything that they did for the other 4 ones, where, if their decision making is good, obviously they'll have kind of nailed everything else, and then if their decision making is bad, it's probably not going to be, or it's probably going to be reflected in the other ones as well. So it's just how they actually respond and decide to carry out the event. One caveat that we do have is that on the far right side of our chart, you can see a not observed category. So if the evaluator that's looking at the exercise deems that, there's only one person working that shift right now, teamwork is not observed. So just in case that scenario happens. Someone calls out sick. All of that is kind of taken into account where it doesn't hurt them, but it also doesn't help them in their actual score.
Is Karen and Terry. He orders a medium almond milk latte, extra foam. The issue is the customer received a regular latte and no foam. The customer's reaction to this is he's very frustrated and demands immediate fix. The barista's response apologizes and acknowledges, I'm sorry, which presumably tries to resolve the issue quickly. He asks to remake the drink and he prioritizes it. He stays calm and professional to reassure the customer of any wrongdoing. He offers a gesture to discount the coffee or give a free drink coupon as a way to consolidate the customer's grievances. And the goal of this scenario is to train the employees to use quick response and to maintain professionalism when dealing with customers.
Our second scenario is codenamed Typhoid Timmy. This is going to be a medical emergency. In this scenario, a customer arrives at Aura Coffee and proceeds to order a coffee and a muffin from the front counter. The employee prepares the customer's order, but fails to inform the customer that the muffin that was ordered contains pecans. The customer sits at a table and proceeds to eat the muffin. After a minute or two, the customer becomes noticeably concerned and is coughing and having trouble breathing. When the employee reacts to this, a customer alerts the employee that they are having an allergic reaction. The issue in this scenario is that the customer was not notified of pecans in the muffin prior to ordering it and is now having an allergic reaction. This reaction includes coughing and trouble breathing. Some of the key points for barista response. Number one is timely recognition. Did the barista recognize the symptoms of allergic reaction within a timely manner? Second is to act fast. The barista needs to tend to the customer and assist them in any way possible. In the state of Florida, it is legal for restaurants that are properly trained to carry epinephrine. This is something that the establishment that we're working with does not currently have, but we're working on implementing. With that being said, if the customer is carrying epinephrine, the employee might be able to assist them in administering that. Next is to contact emergency medical services if needed and contact management to get them involved. Lastly is reporting. Management should ensure that the situation is well documented and that contact information is shared between the customer and the contact information is received from the customer. The goal of this training is to identify ways to properly identify allergens to the customer and ensure that we are properly identifying allergens to the customer. Also, quick reaction to the symptoms of allergic reaction and a heavy focus on the safety of the customer.
For our third scenario, as the staff prepare to close the store, it is evident that several items for retail purchase are missing. The facility has no security cameras, but there have been reported thefts in the area. The employee on duty should call the owner and advise him of the monetary value of the items lost, potentially file a police report if the owner is unable to. This is the expected outcomes and key points of this exercise. The main point of this exercise is to ensure the employees are maintaining close enough attention to the store and know the proper steps to take afterward, primarily notifying the owner of the theft and ensuring a police report is filed. Should the business implement the usage of internal security cameras, this exercise can be expanded to ensure the employees know how to check the logs for the day or to ensure the proper signage was displayed if it is deployable and not permanent.
Our team will use feedback from our exercise to craft our after-action report, as well as make improvements to any potential issues addressed to further reinforce our improvement plan. As this training goes into real-life scenarios that could be beneficial, this exercise will allow for better continuity of operations of the business and will allow employees to respond in a calm manner to potential threats. Overall, our data that we have achieved from our exercise will be compiled and put into our after-action report and will be further used to craft our improvement plan.
Throughout this briefing, you have seen 3 different scenarios, from Karen and Terry to Typhoid Timmy, and finally Moody Blues. The trading audience of Aura should have a better understanding of their own roles and responses from these three distinct but still very possible scenarios. Any questions?